What if the move that really decides our season isn't the one everybody's arguing about on the timeline, but the one that's being built in quiet late-night calls between two front offices that barely trust each other? What if the next Lakers headline doesn't come from free agency gossip or another practice clip, but from a chess move that bends the West in a direction nobody saw coming until the ink is dry? You feel that pressure in your chest right now, right? That mix of fear and excitement that only shows up when something big is actually on the table. Not hype, not clickbait. Something that forces you to ask, are we bold enough to trade comfort for upside? Are we ready to pay the price for a rotation that wins in April, May, and maybe June? Here's my promise to you. Stay with me, and I'll lay out the whole map without spoiling the destination too early. We're going to talk about fit next to LeBron and AD, second unit chemistry, what it does to our space and numbers, how it changes our late clock shot profile, and why the West scouting reports would have to be rewritten in real time. We'll touch cap math, protections, timeline risk, locker room gravity, and the politics of pulling the trigger when a deal makes you a little uncomfortable, because the best deals always do. But first, do the smart thing so you don't miss what's actually happening in Lakerland. Welcome back to Lakers News Fan Report. If you live for real breakdowns while the phone is still hot, hit subscribe, ring the bell, and drop a like so this video reaches more diehards before the narrative gets rewritten by everyone else. Now let's get into the heart of it. Introduction. The modern Lakers have two constants and one question. The constants are obvious. LeBron's decision-making at game speed, and AD's ability to erase mistakes and create mismatch offense from nothing. The question is how you build a five-man shell that keeps both stars in their sweet spots without asking them to cover for structural flaws every single night. That means more reliable catch-and-shoot threats, more ball handlers who can survive pressure, and one extra defender who turns hard possessions into routine stops. It also means leaning into pace when it makes sense without losing the patience to punish switches in the half court. We've been living in that space between good enough and one piece away for a minute. The top teams in the West don't just have talent. They have lines that sing. You see it in how quickly they go from rebound to advantage. How often they force your fourth best defender to make a choice he doesn't want to make. How rarely their bench lineups cough up double-digit runs. The gap is narrow, but it's real. And the league doesn't wait. Now, look at Dallas from 10,000 feet. They live in a pressure cooker of their own making, star timelines, money tied up in shot creation, a fan base that expects top four noise, and a front office trying to thread the needle between today's wins and tomorrow's flexibility. That's the soil where strange but logical trades grow. When both sides have different problems, sometimes you trade problems, and both feel lighter. So what kind of move would actually move the needle for the Lakers? Not a scrolling headline splash. A role precision move. Think of a two-way wing who doesn't need 15 shots to affect winning. Think of a big who stretches your offense without choking off your defense. Think of draft mechanics that protect your future while letting you act like a contender in the present. This is the architecture of teams that travel in May, all day. I've been hearing the same rhythm from people who don't usually agree. The calls between LA and Dallas have not been idle. They've been specific, deliberate, and the structure that keeps coming back regardless of which names you favor points in a very clear direction. Here's the line that matters tonight. The Lakers and the Dallas Mavericks are finalizing the framework of a trade. The version being discussed sends rotational help to loss. Angeles think a defense-first wing with credible corner. Gravity plus a stretch option in the front court while Dallas prioritizes ball handling depth and draft flexibility. The spine of it is clean. Win now minutes for the Lakers. On-ball relief and controllable assets for the Mavs. With picks expressed through protections and potential swap language that keep both sides inside their comfort zones. That's the story. That's the temperature. Why would the Lakers do this? Because the move unclogs your choke points. With another real wing defender on the floor, LeBron guards more selectively, saving legs for the fourth quarter where his brain becomes the separator. With a stretch big in certain matchups, a D's short rows breed no second defender parked in his lap. More clean reads to the strong side shooter, and more space to punish guards in the post without inviting a full paint collapse. You're not reinventing the team. You're removing friction from the stuff the stars already do well. What changes possession by possession? First action, pistol into a quick ghost screen your new wing ghosting forces the nail to hesitate. LeBron skips. Corner three is on the table. If they rotate hard, the stretch big is a half-beat late switch away from a rhythm above the break three. Second action, empty corner pick and roll with a D as the roller. The weak side tagger can't sit 2 feet inside because the corner touch is honest now. End of clock. Instead of a contested pull-up, you get a north-south drive by a 6'7" body that lives in contact and kicks with purpose. Those are boring possessions on paper until you count the points. They stack by March. Defense is where the identity hardens. That extra wing lets you switch more cleanly 2 to 4 without the emergency scrambles that burn timeouts. He takes the tougher primary for stretches, giving you options against jumbo wings and slithery guards alike. Add a stretch big who isn't a turnstile, and now you can toggle between drop, switch, and soft show without subbing. That flexibility is what playoff coaches pay for with sleep. Rotation ripple effects matter too. The second unit has been a seesaw between ball pressure bursts and half-court droughts. If this trade lands, you can stabilize that group. A real wing finisher who can crash, cut, and hit the standstill three. A big who keeps the lane clean for guards to probe. And a defensive spine that doesn't auto-foul when the whistle tightens. It sounds small. It isn't. Those are the 8-point swings that decide road games in January. And seed lines in April. Now flip the whiteboard and look from Dallas's perspective. Why say yes? Because they convert redundancy into structure. Extra on-ball talent helps them survive star absences and load management stretches. Draft flexibility, whether via new picks, protections that lower risk, or swap options opens pathways at the next deadline. And moving a piece that's good but overlapping for pieces that are useful and future-minded is exactly how you keep a roster from calcifying around the same looks opponents have already solved. Let's talk money without getting lost in it. The modern NBA is about tiering your cap so your 5th through 9th men are on values that match role and impact. If the Lakers can use partial exceptions, expiring salaries, and pick protections to keep the window propped open without detonating tomorrow, that's grown-up team building. If Dallas converts salary into picks and a cleaner balance between creators, wings, and size, that's a win for them, even if the immediate headlines read weird. Risks? Absolutely. If the incoming wing's jumper dips, spacing crumples, and you're back to living in the mid-range mud. If the stretch big can't hold up in a second side switch, good teams will hunt that matchup until Darvin Ham has to burn a substitution pattern he didn't plan to use that night. And if the asset cost creeps too many protections off, too many seconds thrown in, you feel it 2 deadlines from now when you need one more move and can't legally make it. This is not a free lunch. It never is. Timeline matters. You don't do this on a win 20 games in. You do it near camp or early enough to build muscle memory before the schedule stacks weekends. The first 10 games become a lab with purpose. Stagger patterns, who closes, which triggers flip us from set to flow, who calls the pocket rescreen, which matchups kill our switching. By game 15, you want to have a defensive language and an offensive menu that everyone can run half asleep on a back-to-back. That's the only way this pays off in the spring. Locker room? That's real. Veterans respect trades that help them do their jobs. Young players respect clarity roles that make sense, minutes that follow defense, and touches that follow spacing. If this deal lands, the message is clean. We're building an adult rotation. Play the right way, and the game gets easier. That's how you turn a collection of players into a team that squeezes opponents on boring Tuesdays and shows up fearless on national. TV. Let's paint a few specific pictures. Against switch-heavy wings, the new wing's strength and footwork turn switches into fake advantages for the defense. He drives the mismatch, collapses the help, and either finishes through chest or kicks to a shooter who doesn't have to relocate twice to be open. Against conservative drops with heavy nail help, your stretch big forces the low man to think about two jobs at once. And that mental lag is where LeBron lies 2 steps ahead slicing. Against zone, both new pieces live in the gaps, flashing middle or dunker and making the zone's second line choose between a layup and a corner 3. It's geometry, not magic. Now the Big West picture. As long as LeBron is making your decisions in crunch time, and AD is healthy enough to be your best defender and your most efficient late-game scorer, the margin is about the 3 guys around them. This trade is about upgrading 2 of those 3 slots most nights. It's about arriving at playoff basketball already fluent in the actions that will win you a Game 4 on the road. It's about not needing a perfect whistle or a 45-point night from a star to survive. The cynic's view says, "We've heard this before." Fair? We've watched midseason moves fizzle when the fit was theoretical and the habits were stubborn. The difference here is the clarity of purpose. You're not buying a new engine. You're changing the oil, swapping the tires, and adjusting the alignment so the engine you already have stops. Redlining by March. That's the boring excellence champions build in the shadows. What if it doesn't happen? If talk stall or protections become a hill to die on, then you take the lesson from the negotiation. The market told you what your roster is worth and what it isn't. You bank that intelligence and move on a smaller piece that hits 70% of the same notes with 30% of the cost. But if the door stays open and both sides keep walking, you don't drag your feet. Windows don't announce closing time. They just close. Let me be blunt. This is the kind of move that tests whether the Lakers want to be interesting or want to be inevitable. Interesting is the nightly storyline, and the "did you see that" highlight. Inevitable is the score at the horn. If the framework holds, you're choosing inevitability defense that travels, spacing that sustains, and roles that survive playoff scouting. That's how you build a runway to June without pretending it's February forever. Before we land the plane, I want to hear from you. If the cost is a reasonable stack of assets and a rotation guard going the other way, do you pull the trigger for a defense-first wing and a stretch big that stabilize both units? Or do you keep your powder dry for a star hunt that may never actually come to market? Who starts, who closes, and who sits when it matters if this thing becomes real? Drop Your Take below. This channel is a community, and the best front offices listen to the smartest rooms in the building. That's us. My personal opinion. The framework makes basketball sense and role sense. It distresses your stars, raises your floor in ugly games, and gives the coaching staff a lineup canvas wide enough to paint playoff basketball before the playoffs. But this is crucial until the teams put out a statement. This remains a well-sourced, logical, high-temperature speculation. No banners for phone calls. When it's official, we'll talk in the language of facts. Tonight, we talked in the language of basketball truth.